Okay, there we go. I almost didn't do YouTube Live. I got to have a checklist for everything. But anyway, we're going out to Periscope, Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and Instagram Live. So if you want to interact, if you're on any of those channels and you want to interact, I can monitor Facebook Live and Periscope for comments. I cannot monitor YouTube Live and Instagram for comments. It's just trying to keep track of way too much. So if you want to comment, feel free to join us on Facebook. It is at Todd.LIVE/Facebook Live. It'll take you directly to my Facebook page, and you can follow if you'd like, and you can join us, and you can leave comments. Today is, is my friend Ross Brand. Ross and I got started doing live. He probably got started before me because he was on Blab for quite a while before I got started. But for all intents and purposes, we've really kind of got moving on live video at about the same time. He's done way more than I have, and we'll get into that in a few minutes. But I just wanted to give you just a brief introduction. I do have to get the podcast started. There's going to be a little bit of music, my little countdown, and we're recording for the podcast as well as the live video session. So thank you for joining us. Let me get started. Ross, you ready to roll and start recording for the podcast?
I'm good.
Cool. All right. 3, 2, 1. Hey folks, I'm Todd Bergen at Todd.LIVE. Welcome to the Create and Engage podcast. With me today is a good friend of mine, Ross Brand of Livestream Universe. Ross has been doing live video for probably pushing to about 3 years. He has a background in radio and broadcasting. He called it a hobby when I interviewed him in a podcast in November last year, 2016. He called his live video endeavors a hobby. We'll get into whether that's still just a hobby now or business, but he's the man behind Livestream Universe, Livestream Deals, Livestream Stars. There's a lot of projects that he's been involved in, all under the umbrella of Livestream Universe. Ross, how you doing today? Welcome to the program.
I'm great. Thanks so much for having me on, Todd. How are you?
I'm great. I'm not nervous, but this being the first quadcast with a podcast recording as well has had me a little rattled to make sure I had everything just right. I think we do, and it is just an honor to have you with me on the first run of the show. Gosh, tell me what's been going on. You've been a busy man lately.
Well, first, congratulations on the new website, on the new podcast, and everything you've been doing. Your setup and your branding and everything has been so professional and so just so well done from the beginning that you've really made a statement with everything you do. And I know that this is going to be a success like everything else that you've worked on. So I can't wait to see how this all developed. And I'm super honored to be on the podcast. So I've been busy the last few weeks, I guess about the last 6 weeks, doing the pre-show for Mario Armstrong's Never Settle show, doing interviews on the red carpet. And then I do a little post show as well. So I've been doing that. I've also been doing a segment on BeLive TV Weekly on Mondays, 3 p.m. Eastern with Jeff Adams and Stephen Healy. And I come on and I talk about tips for marketing your live videos. And of course, I've been doing Livestream Stars consistently, I guess about a year and a half now, every Monday night, 7 p.m. Eastern. 2 more episodes to go in season 5. Then I'll take a little break and start to make plans for season 6. So that's kind of what I've been up to. Also, if anyone's interested in gear, in learning what equipment to use and things like that, I've got a new Twitter account called @LivestreamDeals, in which I share some of the different gear that I use and recommend, whether it's stuff that I'm using for live streaming and podcasting, stuff that I've used when I worked in radio, things that I think can help out the average podcaster, average live streamer at whatever price point and level that they're kind of looking for.
Interesting. Now, you know, there's a lot that I'd like to talk to you about today, and
Sure.
we'll probably have to do multiple episodes because you've been so busy. But I wanted to go back to one of the comments that I made before we started recording for the podcast, and that was when I spoke to you in November of 2016. We did a podcast on the Divorce the Workforce podcast. Folks, if you want to look that up, it's on iTunes. I interviewed you, and at the time, live streaming, you said, was more of a hobby than it was a business. And I'm kind of wondering, is that still the case? Or are you trying to, move it into the direction of a business? What's going on with what you're doing right now with that?
Well, we're open for business now. I mean, I'm continuing to do, HR and career consulting and that kind of stuff, which has been my primary work. But I'm starting to do more. Developing some courses. I'm doing some consulting on live streaming, helping people get set up, get started, align their content with their business and things like that. So I'm doing that kind of thing, and also open to monetizing my broadcasts as well. And that's something I'm looking into, whether it's sponsorship, affiliates, different relationships. I have affiliate relationship with Archon Mounts and some other affiliates that, I'm not going to list them all, but Archon's been a huge supporter of mine in terms of sharing my content and letting people know that I'm part of their affiliate community. So all these things are different than when we talked last. When we talked last, I was, just pretty much passionate hobby, right? Like something that I was spending almost all of my free time doing, but wasn't really focused on monetizing at that point. And now I'm starting to shift to that because I feel that I'm putting so much time into this and the opportunities are there and the need is there. People need help. I think more businesses are getting into it. And, I think below the level of those that can afford to either hire a video department in-house or, bring in a big production team or something like that. How do they get started with this? How do they do it at a professional level? And how do they do it well in terms of creating content that not only works as a broadcast to attract viewers and fans and build awareness, but also aligns with what their business objectives are and ultimately leads people sort of starting down that funnel, right? So that's all kind of things that I'm seeing that people are needing help with, but going to need help with even more in the future as more businesses start realizing that live streaming is a way that they can jump over that kind of let's create content through photos and blog posts and text for 2 years, and then maybe people will notice us, and then they'll join our email list after 8 months, and within a year maybe we can ask them if they want. Whereas this is, as you and I know, I mean, because we connected through live video, I mean, you feel like you get to know somebody and you know whether you want to work with them or collaborate with them or be their friend or whatever it is, so much faster because it's the closest thing to meeting in person. So yes, I'm not saying don't create blog posts. I'm not saying don't create photos and short videos and all that. But being able to hop on and talk about your area of expertise, being able to answer questions from customers, provide some value, all these, quicken the time to market as far as, building that relationship with customers and really turning fans into customers.
Well, I mean, as the future, as we move into the future, how are you even going to be able to do business and get people if you're not doing live video and creating some sort of content? I mean, it's going to become the norm. I know it's not quite yet, but it's going to become the norm, and the engagement you get. And that's kind of what I wanted to focus on was engagement. I mean, it's so much more engaging than a photo, and I'm not knocking Instagram. Instagram's great and people love it. And I love it for certain things, but when I see a picture, I don't really get to know the people behind it very well. I might see a picture with them in it or a picture of their shoes or their food or whatever it is they're eating. But, it takes
you double tap if you like it and keep moving, right?
Yeah. And I think it's very hard with the photos to get to know who it is, particularly if you're following, let's say you follow, 400 accounts. How do you really get to know any one account? I mean, if that's the way you're going, but with live video, I mean, you can get to know somebody really well in 20 minutes. Or even if you follow them on Snapchat and you watch them for 4 or 5 days, you start getting an idea who this person is very quickly.
Hmm. And I think, the opportunity with Instagram, I'm realizing how powerful a live video platform Instagram is. And I kind of liked it as a place to jump on occasionally and just chat with people with no focus. But yesterday, I literally had a few seconds before I was going to get on a train, and I don't usually do much with stories, right? But the one thing I love about Instagram stories is that it's great for events, right? Like when I'm going to an event and I want to share a little bit of my journey, a little bit of little pieces of the event, it's great because you can tell that story throughout the day, right? I'm not somebody who usually Instagrams their food and that kind of stuff, right? So I was on my way into the New York City for Never Settle show, and I thought, okay, let me do a little video of the train coming to start the story, right? And accidentally I hit the live button, and I'm like, oh, hey, we're live, right? I mean, and in, like I say, 50 seconds I had to jump off because I had to get on the train, right? But in that 50 seconds, I already had 7 people watching,
Absolutely.
saying hello, whatever. And I'm like, maybe I ought to be going live on Instagram a little more. And it's all people who follow you who are already in. I mean, so it's not necessarily the first point of contact with folks, but if they find you in other places and follow you on Instagram, boy, that's a powerful tool.
Absolutely. Hey, Ross, I just want to break off really quick. We've had a bunch of people show up, and I want to do some shout outs.
Sure.
Carlos Costa watches some of my content. I think he's doing live video as well. Mark Gawith. Let's see who else here. Jonathan Tripp both joined us. They have both been on my podcast, the Divorce the Workforce podcast. We've got Jeff Adams with us. Stephen Healy, thank you. He shared the video. And actually, Ross, I think you shared, and I think a few other people shared, but it only tells me that Stephen Healy and 3 others. So I don't know who the 3 others are because I can't see it. But thank you all for the shares and for the love. I greatly appreciate you guys showing up and providing your feedback and saying hello. Ross, so you were talking about the Never Settle show. How did you get started with the Never Settle show? That's Mario Armstrong, folks, for those who do not know.
Yeah, I mean, what happened was I had Mario on my show and basically just wanted to help him promote it and had him on Livestream Stars a week before the show was going to launch. And he was talking about how people can get involved and how they can become part of the show and what he needs help with and things like that. And so I asked him, do you need anybody after the show? Obviously not, live on the show, but we were chatting after the show. And I said, listen, I got an idea. Do you have anybody doing the red carpet, doing interviews on the red carpet, a kind of a pre-show? And I figured he would either say yes or we're not interested in that. But he said, oh, we would love that, and so it was an opportunity to kind of extend the engagement, right? To start out building awareness on the Never Settle Show Facebook page an hour and a half before the show for about an hour, and then send people over to the Entrepreneur Facebook page for the show to go live. It gave people who weren't at the show a chance to see the event behind the scenes and also meet the cast and the crew and some of the reps from the sponsors and attendees, guests, show guests, whoever was hanging out at that pre-show event. We tried to talk to other live streamers. Yet last night, Jen Nelson was there, Chris Strub was there, Michael Campbell, Tiger One, people we know from live streaming were there in attendance, and it's a great chance to talk to them and see what they're up to and what brought them in, as well as talking to Mario and Shai as co-executive producer, and the caricaturist Kathy Nolan and all the people, the band members and all the people who make up the main part of the cast and the crew.
So you've been doing this. The season's coming to an end. You have 2 more episodes left, and then when do they intend to do the next season?
Actually, the first season wrapped up last night.
My apologies.
No worries. It was a 6 episode first season. The day before, so Tuesday, last night was the final. On Tuesday, Mario pitched at the New Fronts, which is where Entrepreneur Magazine or Entrepreneur Network, where the show they're kind of the distributor for the show, right? So all the programs within their network, or the ones that they selected, spent an hour pitching, and Mario had like an 8-minute pitch, and he talked about all the different opportunities for advertisers with the show, from product placement to native advertising within the show, the gift bags, all the giveaways, interviews, user comments, all the different kind of things that he's already built into the show. I mean, a lot of shows are kind of a concept. He's already built these things into the show, which, and of course, being that he's a TV personality and everything, he basically did an 8-minute version of the Never Settle show, and it was just an amazing pitch. So hopefully more sponsors, more advertisers will get on board. A lot of the people are talking as though it's going to happen, a second season. They're going to take a break in the summer, and then probably in the fall there'll be a season 2, and we're all hoping.
So you've been, prior to doing Mario's show, you had been doing a lot of broadcasts on your own. What have you learned about Mario's show that maybe you want to incorporate into your own broadcasting?
That's a great question. I think what I've learned is almost everything that I've done, I'd say for the first year of live streaming, I was exclusively desktop based, right? You see me sitting here, this is what you got, whether it was a show or an update or whatever. That's what I did, or just a chat. This gave me a whole new idea of what's possible with mobile, because I had started doing some mobile streams here and there, but again, nothing this ambitious, right? And I'm seeing that it's possible for one person to go out and do mobile interviews. There's different equipment you can use, different ways you can do it. And it's really a powerful thing in an era in which, news organizations and production companies and so forth are looking to cut costs however they can, and mobile quality from what's in your iPhone and what it can capture, and what you can do. It's just at such a level now that I think you're going to be seeing more and more people doing higher quality mobile. Now, I'm not saying mobile's for everything, right? There would be no reason to do this show on mobile. But when you want to cover an event or do an on-the-spot interview or go out and be a part of something and stream, your options aren't just to walk around with a phone. You can attach microphones, you can use mounts and tripods and monopods and equipment and things like that, and really give it a, and it's going to get, if we do a season 2, we're going to up the level, right? I mean, I'm going to up the level if we do a season 2 and talk to Mario about some other things that we can do. But even for this, it was a step beyond anything I had done with mobile. So I'm looking, my takeaway is that I want to do more mobile stuff.
Yeah.
Where that's going to be, what it's going to be, I don't know. But it's going to be more times where I'm going to say, I'm going to go out to you and interview you in your setting, maybe. Like, if I'm in California, rather than having you on Livestream Stars from here, maybe I go and we sit down at a restaurant, or we sit down at in your studio or whatever, and we do it right on. We do an interview on the spot and kind of talk to people in their office, see their setup, see their I don't know. I mean, my mind's just going through like endless opportunities that they really hadn't. Mobile was just something. Hey guys, how you doing? What's going on? I'm going to be on later, whatever. Now I realize the show can be done from mobile, and it doesn't have to be, a sloppy live stream. It can be an interview show. It can be a concept show. It can be a show at an event. So all that put together, the short answer is mobile is coming. I'm going to do more mobile stuff.
Well, I'll tell you, you live in a great place for it. You're right outside New York City, so you get in and there's plenty of opportunities for you there, but there's a big opportunity coming up for you in, what is it? Is it June at VidCon? And you kind of, since you mentioned getting the mobile out and talking to me, you have a perfect opportunity. I'd love to see you come. I know we've talked about it, and it's kind of,
right.
It's out you haven't decided yet, but Roberto Blake is going to be there. Owen Video. If you come, Mike Vardy's going to come out. Gosh, I don't know. I'm sure there's going to be tons of people. I mean, the show is huge.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the gang from Roker Media is going to be there,
Oh, wow.
and who else? Oh, I don't know why my mind's not working right now, but there's going to be a lot of people there. I mean, I've heard great things about VidCon. I've heard that Summit Live is kind of where you go for live streaming, but open it up a little wider. VidCon's where you go for everything else video, and I think it's going to be a great event. I'm hoping I can make it. I'm not sure yet, but let's continue the conversation offline, and we'll see what we can do.
I've been kind of on the fence about it myself. It's comes with where I've got a lot of travel right before and after it, but it's in my backyard. It's in Anaheim, California, so I'm just going to have to do it. Plus, Mike Vardy's staying with me, so I've got to do it. I'm pretty much committed. I haven't bought my ticket yet, surprisingly, but so tell me this. You're big on BeLive right now, and you haven't always been. Not that you weren't big on BeLive, it's just that you've started using it more now than you have in the past. And I'm wondering, what you like about BeLive. And actually, and I don't mean to, if that sounded slightly negative, it wasn't. I like BeLive. I think it's awesome. It's a very easy way to click and go, and you can have guests come on, and you can do all sorts of cool things. But you've been using it a lot lately, and I think, like you said, you're in with BeLive. Tell me about your experience with BeLive and what BeLive offers. And I think this is the key with BeLive that makes it better than anything else is the ability to engage with the audience. BeLive really nails that. So tell us a little bit about, how you got started with BeLive and what you're finding with the engagement when you use it.
Well, yeah, you pretty much answered the question right there. It's the engagement. It depends what you're prioritizing, right? So if you're prioritizing doing something with the video later, and that's more important than the live. The live's just a way to get some people involved, and you're doing you're focused on repurposing it on YouTube, or you're making a podcast out of it, or whatever. I'm not saying you can't use BeLive for that, but I'm saying that's not what drew me to BeLive. What drew me to BeLive is, one, the simplicity of getting a guest on quickly, for familiarizing them with the platform and everything. It's so easy to use. It's so quick to set up a show. But the biggest thing is the engagement. The fact that you can share comments right on the screen. The fact that comments come into the back-end interface, so you don't have to keep a second browser open. You can highlight those comments. You can share those comments out on the screen. There's an agenda feature that lets you you can put up what you want for some lower thirds, and things like that, things to remember that you want to, key points you want to hit. And now with Talk Show, it's even better, because now I can start a show on my own and decide to bring in guests along the way, or I can do an interview with somebody and decide to take call-ins for that person, because you can have up to 3 people. And again, the process of bringing somebody on, dropping them off, all that is super easy. There's one link that you have for guests. You can give it out in the chat, and people can call in. So it's the ease of use. It's a nice looking design. You can add your own branding, which I've started doing. So that's also nice as well. But there's a community of users who are passionate about it. So when they see that a show's on BeLive, I think people are like, well, let's check that out. They're using, it's sort of like people felt about Blab, right? Except that they're doing things right.
Yeah. Well,
and the team really seems committed to learning and making this happen. And this is a priority, not just let's experiment for 6 months and then, trash it.
Right. Jacqueline Price says BeLive gives you the chance to really up your game.
Yes.
So go ahead.
I think let me comment on what Jacqueline said, because that is so true. And one of the ways, you're using lower thirds. You can change shots using Wirecast or OBS or XSplit or vMix or any of those you can do a lot of things, but it's quite complicated, and it doesn't integrate the chat as well as using BeLive. But BeLive gives people who want a little more produced look, who want to be able to change shots, who want to be able to bring in lower thirds, and now also you can share images. So you can load up images into a Facebook photo album, and then you can bring those images. It could be a promo card for your next show. It could be a picture of your guest's website, whatever it is. A graph that displays what you're talking about. And so all these things allow the average person who doesn't want to invest yet in something like Wirecast or just wants a simple solution. So, I mean, I think even if you're somebody who uses a range of different kinds of broadcasts like I do, this is a valuable tool for me, and it's what I use as my primary platform for doing interviews and also, any kind of sort of call-in or Q&A type show that I do spontaneously on Facebook Live. I love using BeLive on Facebook Live.
Yeah, I might start using BeLive just to do some quick, just turn it on, like you said, just turn it on and see who's out there. Maybe snag a guest if you happen to be on Facebook with somebody at the same moment. It's great for that. What I've got going on here with Wirecast, and I mean, I've got like 7 or 8 screens pointing at me right now.
Right.
It is very complicated, but then it's not. Like, I was surprised today once we connected on Skype, how quickly I had it all running. And this is the first time I've ever done it with all this stuff. We've done some practice runs with portions of it, you and I together on dummy Facebook accounts, but I've never really done it all at one time. And I wasn't really nervous about it, but it's a lot of stuff, and I can see people being nervous about it. But it is a lot. It's an investment of money and in all the equipment and time and figuring it all out. Of course, I can help you with that if you need it. But BeLive lets you jump right to it with the obvious limitations like repurposing or, if you want your I think the beauty of what I've done here is that it can go to multiple places, where the BeLive, I think, is just Facebook. But I imagine at some point they're probably going to try to change that, right? So that you can go to multiple places. That would be beautiful.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about that. I don't know if that's something that they're working on. I mean, you do have the option when you're done to download the video from Facebook, and then you can repurpose that video. But let's be honest, Facebook Live video quality from a live stream isn't as good as what you're going to record in Wirecast or you're going to send to YouTube or whatever. And then over time, Facebook kind of degrades that quality. So it's good if you do a Facebook Live and you want to save it, hop on and download that right away because it's going to degrade over time. But I learned to use Wirecast before I discovered BeLive TV, and I'm as much for Wirecast as any product that I've used. I think it's an awesome thing. But for my Facebook Live shows where engagement with the audience is the number one priority, I don't have a better tool at this point than BeLive TV. And of course, depending on what you're doing and what you're doing it for, another thing that you would want to use something like Wirecast for is if, you need your own branding completely. So you need like when I look at your lower thirds, right, you have your own colors, you have your own fonts, you have your own logos and social logos and all that. You need something like Wirecast to make all that happen.
Right.
But for the person who is focused on engagement and also wants, okay, let me get a lower third on there that gives my website or gives my guests, coupon code or whatever. BeLive has solutions for all that. If you want to switch shots, you want to bring in images and all that, you can do that while also benefiting from having those comments come in a way that's very easy to share them on screen. So I think it's just different tools for different purposes. And I think anybody who's assembling a toolkit to do this seriously is going to look at all these and try and understand what's the use case for each one.
Right. One of my buddies on Snapchat who goes by the screen name Cash Chat Snap. So
Cash Chat Snap.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's got a great channel on Snapchat. He asks, and I'll send this question to you, Ross. Is there anything to be said with starting out live and being platform specific?
I think if you're new to live streaming, I think Facebook Live is a friendly place to start because you have the option of going live on your business page, or you can go live on your personal. If you go live on your personal, you're going to get friends and family and people who connect with you socially are going to get notified. And so there's a good chance they'll jump in. And, there's that confidence that comes from having an audience in the beginning, right? Like everybody's sort of the biggest fear I think a lot of people have is, what if I go on and nobody's watching? From my point of view, that's like the 100th thing to worry about, right? Of all the things that can go wrong with a live video, is a small audience is the least of the concerns. But it does, like anything else, there's small wins, right? So you see people showing up and engaging, you start to feel that, hey, you're having an impact and everything. And Facebook, I think, is the fastest way to do that. If you go live on your business page, then you have the people who've opted into your business page who will get notified, and some of them will jump on and so forth. So I see Facebook Live as a great starting point. Monetization options on YouTube still exist, and if you want to go big, YouTube is still a great place to do that. Periscope and Busker, if you're doing really direct selling, those are places. I mean, Busker, you can actually sell products right on Busker, where viewers can actually click a button and buy right on Busker. So if you're doing a kind of a QVC kind of thing, you may want to look at Busker, and I think Periscope may lend itself to that more than Facebook, where people are more interested in the engagement than the conversation. But I think that you go where your audience is. I mean, if you already have a following on a platform, that's probably the place to start. But if all things being equal, I would start on Facebook and then start learning how you can leverage the other platforms. I've made Facebook Live my primary place where I do my shows, but that doesn't mean that that's the best option for everybody.
Right. Well, I agree with you. I think Facebook is where it's at. Although a lot of the reason why I wanted to do the multicast, and I'm doing a quadcast right now for those who have maybe popped in. This signal is going right now to Instagram Live. It's going to Periscope. It's going to Facebook Live and to YouTube Live. Now, out of all those, really the only ones I really seriously care about, YouTube Live and Facebook Live. And for what you talked about with Facebook and then YouTube, I just think, with it being attached to Google, first of all, I think it's an amazing thing that YouTube isn't the leader in live video right now. And it doesn't seem to be pushing as hard as Facebook. But, I think that there are things to come, and I think that YouTube is an excellent play to be involved in YouTube. Twitter or Periscope, I'm shocked at how low. I can run a half-hour show and no one will show up for the whole half hour. Maybe one or two people will pop in and pop right back out. It's not what it used to be. When I first got started on Periscope, it used to you'd go live and 20 or 30 people would show up and there'd be some conversation. Now it's just, I don't know. It's odd. Instagram Live, just to close out my observations. Instagram Live has actually been really good. I don't generally do much of it, but a lot of people come in and comment, and it's really kind of shocking for a platform that's based mostly on pictures. How much looks I get. But I think other people are seeing that as well. But and the engagement's good there. But Facebook right now is definitely where it's at, and BeLive being in that space and making it easy for people to just click and go is just fabulous for Facebook, for BeLive, and for all the producers that are wanting to use it.
Yeah, I mean, I think, because of the ability to throw links in the chat and the ability to link out to websites and different things more than you can on you can't really on an Instagram Live. You just go live and, maybe you have that one link in your bio and excuse me, and people can go check that if they want more information. So I think Facebook's the better, longer term business play. But I was just thinking as you were talking, if you're at the stage where you want to get practice going live, I mean, you can't do better than go on Instagram. First of all, people show up. I mean, I think I mentioned this in the pre-show and not in the, so I'll throw it in here. But I mean, I went live for 50 seconds and had 7 people on, and I went live by accident. No planning, no, no promotion, nothing. So I think it's the way that Instagram notifies all your contacts when you go live. It'll say, Todd Bergen just started, or Todd.LIVE just started a live video, and then I can jump in and whatever. But I think as far as practicing goes, it's up to you whether you want to do anything with the video afterwards, but the replay doesn't stay up. So whether I used Instagram Live yesterday to test a new microphone before I went live with the pre-show for the Never Settle show. So that was where I went to test it. I could have set up a test page on Facebook and everything else, but I wanted to get feedback from people. And so I got their input, found out everything was good and whatever, and then I could go ahead and start the show.
Right. Well, yeah, I got my start on Snapchat, and it's a lot like Instagram. Well, at least it was at the time where it disappeared. It disappears in 24 hours, where I think Instagram disappears instantaneously, at least in the live. The Instagram stories, I think, disappear in 24 hours like Snapchat. But, I think you had touched on something a few minutes ago, and I think when we were talking about common objections to going live, one of them being, I think it was... what was you mentioned an objection? Gosh, I just was thinking of it. And I totally lost it.
What if nobody watches?
What if nobody watches? That's right. What if nobody watches?
The two biggest I hear are, what if nobody watches, and what if I don't have anything to talk about?
The what if I don't have anything to talk about, I've struggled with that myself. I mean, that would be the number one and maybe the only one. I talked to my wife and some of the things she's doing, I tell her, you ought to be going live. You ought to be doing videos. Right. And, she doesn't really want to, she's not trained to be in front of the camera or whatever. And I'm not trained. You're not, well, maybe you did broadcasting. So you had some.
I did radio, but the camera's a new animal for me too.
Right. I mean, I don't worry about my hair or whether I'm shaved or if I'm wearing my exercise clothes. And I think a lot of people do worry about that stuff. And I think that's I think it's a relevant concern, particularly if, let's say you're representing your business and maybe you've got an a car dealership. You can't show up unshaven and you just got done running your laps in the morning, or maybe you can.
Right.
But I can see for certain things that's maybe more of a concern, that you need to have some polish. But I think for most of us, I think that's the fun of live video, and that's the fun for the audience, particularly people who might be interested in you and your brand, is that they're getting to know you without all the nonsense, without the hair right and the lipstick and the, maybe you're unshaven or maybe you're eating. I did a video once where I was eating a hamburger and I had tons of people hang out with me and talk, and I was eating a hamburger, right? People thought I was nuts.
I think there's a mix, right? So I think, it's good to have a consistent show, and that's probably, you do that from your desktop. You prepare in terms of booking a guest or coming up with a topic. You promote it. You repurpose it. It's at a regular time. People know when to tune in and all that. And maybe that's where you check out that your background looks okay and that your lighting's right and that, and I'm not there yet. I got a ways to go with what I can do and with lighting, and I don't know how to dress for camera and all that stuff yet, for this, like each situation you're in, I'm learning has a different way you would want to present yourself and everything. And there's so much to learn about that. And I don't think it's necessary even for this kind of show, but this would be the place where you put that more effort in. But then people want to see you just jump on your phone once in a while, or just jump on and be you, and not, let's dispense with all the formalities, right? Like, right. It's not about promoting it. It's not about repurposing it. It's about, that direct engagement with people and letting the conversation have a little freedom to kind of go where it goes, right? Whereas a show tends to have a theme or a topic. And again, that's where I think Instagram Live is wonderful. And people can ask you anything and you can go in any direction, because it's not automatically being saved on Instagram. So enjoy the moment, build up your competency at doing this. boy, I really want to do more on Instagram Live just because it's fun. It's fun, and people are there, and you connect with them in a different way than you do on Facebook, where there's a little more at stake.
Yeah, well, my friend who asked the question earlier, and look him up on Snapchat, Cash Chat Snap. He's great. I mean, he gives practical financial advice in extremely fun and creative videos, and I think he's one of the best on Snapchat. I interviewed him on the Divorce the Workforce podcast. God, I can't remember when it was. I mean, it's been since November because that's when I started the podcast. But he's loving Instagram, and I know that he and I have talked, and he's like, I hardly ever use Facebook, and that's a reality. Let me tell you, my daughter is getting into live video and video in general and posting, and we even have, I mean, she's 13 and she's even said during an argument, and I don't even have time to create content because of my homework. So, which is great, right? I have a 13-year-old daughter that is doesn't want to do homework because she hasn't, and actually what she said was, she says, I need to put my homework off. I haven't created content in 2 days. And people are going to start unfollowing me on Instagram. And she's kind of getting it, right? You've got to be out there and you've got to be doing it. But the Instagram is great. I should do it more as well. I'll tell you who's really good at the in the moment, just enjoy the moment with whoever shows up is Chris Strub. I mean, he's constantly turning his phone on and recording. I mean, yesterday I watched a video that he did where he got his tires done at a service center. And did you see that one? I mean,
I didn't see that one.
It's not terribly remarkable as far as, the content is. I mean, it's not anything dazzling like flying from the bottom of a helicopter upside down or anything like that. But it just, he was at this tire center and his rim and his tire got busted. And he, I guess they treated him very well at this tire center, and he wanted to do a shout out. And during the video, he asked him, where can I go on Yelp and give you guys a shout out? Where can I, and he asked his crowd, and all sorts of people were watching along with me. And it was, I don't even know if it was a 2-minute video, right? But he jumps on, hits it hard and jumps off. And he does that so often. Every time he goes on, he's got a huge crowd and everybody's tuning in.
And people love, like, he was in, what was he? Maybe I forget. He was at some city in the South that I had never seen before, and he was just walking around the city and just like, okay, I'm walking here. This is what I'm doing, whatever. And I'm realizing people love that. And I started doing live streams as I walked from Penn Station to the studio where the Never Settle show was done, and just like, okay, you see behind me the Empire State Building. Here's what's, we're going to work on the show tonight. And, check out, did you know that, look at all these trees here. This is Manhattan, but look at all these trees here. Nobody thinks about that, and people just love it. And those are the kind of moments that, really allow you to build a deeper relationship with your audience, because it's just you and them kind of enjoying the moment. Right. And they get to experience something that otherwise they would have to either go Googling for a tour of New York. But you know what? It's not you giving the tour, right? It's fun because it's Chris Strub walking around the city. And I know Chris Strub, and I'm experiencing it through his eyes. So it doesn't matter that I could Google 1,000 videos on that city, right? Nobody can bring it to you the same way Chris Strub would bring it to you, right? The same way I would watch your video on a topic versus somebody else's, because I enjoy the way you break things down and you discuss them and how you share your take on things. And let me just say, so nobody takes this the wrong way, I'm not saying on Instagram be completely unprofessional, run around naked, curse out your boss. I'm just saying that there's an informality to the conversation. You don't have to have a professional delivery. You don't have to have a topic. You can let there be a little dead air. You can be very flexible with things because of the fact that there's no necessarily record of it, but never take the risk that somebody isn't going to screenshot something or find a way to record it with another phone or whatever. So you still have to, I mean, I think everybody in your audience has pretty good judgment, or they wouldn't be here in the first place. But I just wanted to throw that in as a disclaimer, because somebody's going to, Ross said, you can do anything you want on Instagram because they don't record it. Now, that wasn't really what I meant. right?
Right. Yeah, well, I have a feeling that our audience gets that, but you never know. I mean, there's always going to be somebody who's gonna try something. You know,
There's always somebody who lives for creative misinterpretation or hostile misinterpretation of what we say, right?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, going back to the engagement thing. Look, people spend, how much time a year do you spend watching movies? And when you do, I mean, do you have 6 hours watching Gene Hackman movies every year, 5 hours watching Tom Cruise movies every year, or whatever? And how much do you really get to engage with those people? How available are they? I mean, and rightfully so. I mean, they've got, their reach is so wide. I mean, they're in every movie theater, and millions and millions and maybe even billions of people know who they are and would love to have a conversation. But we're scaled down from that greatly, but that's the thing. People, if you're doing your channel and you're doing programs and you're doing live and you're doing, in the moment things with Snapchat and Instagram, a lot of people out there who choose to consume your content may be spending more time with you than they are watching Gene Hackman or Tom Cruise or whatever.
Right.
But you know what? You're approachable. You're able to be spoke to. And I think people really enjoy that. And I think that's one of the big things behind what's going on is that people can, they can, and I can say it. I don't, Chris Strubb asked if I'm going to have Gene Hackman on next week. You know what? I would love to have Gene Hackman on. I wish he was still in movies. That guy was awesome. And I think he swore off movies a few years ago, and it's just a shame. I'm sure there's roles where he could play a dying man or something like that. And he would be great at it. Jason Robards did that in the movie Magnolia. He was pretty much on his deathbed. And he did a movie where he was dying of cancer, Magnolia. It was fabulous. So there's a role at any age for you. But no, I mean, like Chris is on video constantly. And there's a lot of us that consume an awful lot of it. And we spend more time with Chris than we do big names that we've known all our life and grew up with, these movie stars and people on TV and whatnot. But if I want to reach out and say hi to Chris is available to do that. And, Chris shares things and Chris talks and Chris gets involved in our lives. And so do you. And so do I.
Right.
And I mean, all of us that create, we get involved with the people who are consuming our content, and it creates a whole different experience going back and forth that it's just incredible. And as an entrepreneur, I can't imagine how 20, 30 years from now, people who are in business for themselves are going to be able to exist without getting heavily engaged in some sort of creating this kind of content.
That's right. And Chris is a great model for that. And Chris is also extremely supportive as a viewer, too. So he's not just creating content and expecting you to show up for his videos. He's going into other people's videos and energizing the chat and sharing it out and building relationships, which is ultimately what a lot of this is about. And Chris is a great example of doing that. I noticed in the chat, if you don't mind, Jonathan Tripp had asked the question, isn't the informality Instagram Live has now similar to how Periscope started out? I'm not really sure because I wasn't on Periscope in the early days, but I think what makes Instagram different is Periscope, until this integration with Twitter, was really a separate app just for live video. Instagram is an app that people love, and they love it regardless of whether they're interested in live video or not. So the live video is like an add-on to an app that people are already using. And so while people kind of became annoyed with the notifications from Periscope popping up every 2 seconds if you followed a lot of people, somehow there's a different reaction that people have when they get an Instagram. I mean, I have many notifications turned off, but for some reason I don't mind letting those Instagram notifications run constantly. And I think people love Instagram. They're passionate about it. The younger generation, it's their Facebook. It's their primary place for interacting and sharing moments and stuff with friends. And so I think Instagram, it's a powerhouse right now. And I don't know what the future holds, but I do see some differences. But there are similarities as well, definitely.
Yeah,
and that's why Facebook Live and YouTube Live are still the places for hosting these more formal kind of talk shows, right? And maybe you stream it as you are to Instagram, but Instagram has its purposes.
I agree. And you touched on something very key. I mentioned my 13-year-old daughter a few minutes ago. She uses Instagram. She uses YouTube. She watches more YouTube than she watches TV. I mean, she loves YouTube. All her friends are all on YouTube. And that kind of goes back to my point where, I don't want to just be on Facebook. And that's one of the reasons why I focus more on creating my own studio than doing something like BeLive. Not that I won't use BeLive. I'm probably going to start using it more for certain other occasions. But, I think YouTube is, the younger kids, Gen X, Gen Z, or I'm Gen X. There's some of us still in Gen X that kind of identify with the younger and kind of behave that way, I think.
Yeah, I'm Gen X, but I feel like I can run circles around a lot of Gen Y when it comes to social media and stuff.
Exactly. But, my daughter, I tell her, with her business, she's going to need to be on Facebook. And she kind of looks at me and grumbles. She's like, oh, I don't want to use Facebook. And I said, well, you're going to have to. And,
right.
But there's going to be a lot of kids out there who aren't going to use it or not going, or maybe they get to it too late. I told my daughter, you need to get on it now. And as a 13-year-old, you get on it now, and you're going to be well established when all your friends are getting on it. You're going to already be,
right.
You'll be on there for 10 years before a lot of those other people show up. And so you'll have a great foothold in what you're doing on there. But, I think that's one of the big things is that you with the younger generation, if you want to be where they're at, that's the one thing that Facebook, I think, is going to have a tough time with. If my daughter is and her friends, all her friends feel the same way. If there any indication of what's in store for the future, I think that's why it's important, like you said, to do Instagram stories and to do Instagram Live and to do Snapchat. I do a lot of Snapchat. In fact, I got my start in Snapchat, as I already mentioned. But
right.
You can find these people there on platforms that they're enjoying, and but you just got to be everywhere. I mean, you got to be everywhere, but you got to pick and choose where your big battles are. And for me, I think it's YouTube and Facebook, if I had to choose.
And I think Instagram, although it's so strong and popular with the younger generation, it's cross-generational, it's cross-industry. Snapchat is still thought of as more like, oh, I'm going on there because my parents aren't going to be on there, right? Like, Instagram, anybody who's doing business is pretty much thinking about or already on Instagram or has been on Instagram for several years. So you can market to multiple generations and feel like, you belong. Everybody can be on Instagram. There's no demographic that says this isn't my place, right?
Right.
And so I just don't see any reason why people shouldn't be creating content on Instagram. And like I say, when people say, what do I say if I do a live video? I think that what I say, it's not that different from social media, right? We use it when we have something to say, when we have a need to use it, right? We have a need to create content. We have something we're selling, we're promoting, a reason why we want to engage. We want to share a great moment, or we want to share something that we're doing. It's no different whether it's live video, whether it's images, whether it's short recorded video, it's blog posts, whatever. And that's kind of how I approach Instagram stories. I don't, the average moments of the day just don't seem interesting enough to me at this point to do Instagram stories. But when I go to an event or I have something out of the norm going on, then I say, okay, Instagram stories is a great way to be taking pictures and video and just get them up there. Don't worry about hashtags. Don't, you don't have to write a caption and links and all that. Just get it up there and share it. And, if you cover something over time, like throughout the day, you keep yourself front of mind as well, because you stay to the front of the stories. And I don't know, I'm still kind of new to it. I don't know if there's an etiquette towards how many times you should share a story or whatever. I know you've been more active with that through Snapchat, and you've been doing more stories than I have on Instagram. But all these things are just tools. And if you don't have a reason for using them, it's okay. But when you have a reason for using them, a lot of times there's a new thought, like, why do I need stories? I could do that on Snapchat or what? But then you realize, okay, this is why I need it, when you have a need and you can see a way that you can use it. So you shouldn't feel like you have to use every single tool that's out there just because some influencer says, okay, this is hot.
I agree. Well, and I said that in jest too when I said you got to be everywhere a few minutes ago. You can't be everywhere.
No, that wasn't a reaction to what you were saying.
No, but I was thinking about that. I don't want people going away thinking that Todd endorses being everywhere. I don't. In fact, I've really tried to pare it down lately, and I'm spending a lot of time focusing on Facebook and YouTube primarily. Because I've set up the studio the way I have, it's allowed me to why wouldn't I send my signal to Periscope, which has had I've got one person watching me right now. And thank you, whoever that is. Actually Instagram's been really good today. I'm kind of surprised. I wasn't going to do this for Instagram Live, and I can't point the camera over there, but you can't send the signal to Instagram the way through Wirecast and Joycaster the way you can with Periscope, Facebook, and YouTube. So I have two iPads on tripods, and one's playing the broadcast, and one is recording, or it has the camera is pointed at that screen. So it's not perfect. And then I have the sound from the mixer. This is what's cool though, because how do you get if I didn't plug the sound in, they would only get me talking. They wouldn't get you talking. So I figured out how to run the mixer line in with all the sound effects and everything into the Instagram device, so that they get the benefit of the full program, which is kind of cool. And maybe they'll open the API up and I won't have to do something silly like that. But I think I saw in the old days where, I don't know if it was Joel Com, somebody did that. Somebody was trying to be multiple places, and it seemed to me they must have had a lot of phones and iPads lined up, because we didn't have the tools that we have. And this is only 8 months ago. This is all happening so fast. Talk about that really quick. We've been on for about an hour, so we probably should start wrapping up soon. But I want to know your thoughts on how fast this is moving, and how hard it is to keep up with, and how that's actually part of in my opinion, is a key reason why you need to pick and choose your platforms wisely. What you're really going to focus on is because things just change so fast.
Yeah, I mean, messaging apps are video apps. There's a billion of them out there. Work with your team, send videos back and forth, go live. More and more platforms will come along. Don't try. You don't have to be everywhere. Be where your community is. Be on the platforms that you enjoy. For me, it's not natural to create content on Snapchat, and I just don't have the bandwidth to be on another platform that's consuming. And so, rather than doing it poorly or feeling obligated or guilty about it, I just rarely go on Snapchat. Yeah. If somebody says, hey, check out my story, I mentioned you, or, hey, this is really funny, I know you don't do a lot of Snapchat, I'll go on. Or if I'm at it, sometimes I'm at an event and I say, let's see what stories people are telling about it or whatever. But I mean, I could delete it on my phone and I wouldn't use it that much less than I use it now. And so it's fine to have your platforms. I used to schedule tweets about, share articles and different stuff. And I spend almost no time doing that anymore. Almost any tweet that I send is, on the spot. I write a tweet. And it's usually, again, specific purposes. I want to participate in a Twitter chat. That's where the real engagement takes place. I want to let people know about a show that's coming up. I want to share somebody's show, share some stuff that friends are doing and retweet it at an event, and want to share a photo or something like that. You have to see where the value is compared to where the time that goes into it. And so if I'm sharing articles about live streaming that aren't that I didn't create, and I'm getting one retweet and two likes on it or whatever, is that really worth the time to spend loading it up and doing all that? Whereas you post a picture on Instagram and you get 100 likes and you get, 10 comments, and, it tells a story in and of itself in a way that, how many people are actually clicking through things. I mean, I love Twitter, but I use it for very specific purposes. And to pretend that people, because they share something on Twitter, are necessarily reading it or going to your blog or whatever, I know that's happening a lot less than it even used to happen, and it happened less even then than people wanted to admit. So I do know that people join my show when I tag them on Twitter, so that's a valuable thing. And so you just got to find where it's working for you, and drop what's not working and what you don't enjoy, because if you're not sort of enjoying it a little bit, then you're not going to be social on social, and then you're just pushing stuff out. You might as well, do a TV ad or billboard or something like that if you have the money.
I agree with you 100%. And I think we're always going through a period of self-assessment when we're doing this, when we're creating content, live streaming, or if it's static social, if it's Twitter posts or photographs on Instagram or whatever it is. It's just, it's a constant assessment of what's working and what's not. And yeah, would it be beautiful to, look at Gary Vaynerchuk. He's everywhere, right? He's on every platform hitting it all hard, but he also has a team of people that are doing it for him. We don't have that luxury, at least at this point, and who knows if we ever will, but unless you've got a team of people, you've got to really pick and choose, and you've got to hit, wherever you're hitting big, that's where you need to be, and let the other stuff just go. I mean, Twitter's kind of like that for me. I don't do a whole lot on Twitter. I don't seem to get much bang for the time that I spend there. I love it. I wish and maybe I'm doing it wrong. I'm probably doing it wrong. I mean, I can chalk it up to that.
Or not. I mean, it's just the nature of the platform, I think, at this point. And there's so much on Twitter that's good, though. So I'm saying don't spend as much time, okay, I got to have a tweet go out, 3 times a day or once every hour or whatever. That doesn't mean it's not a great place when there's breaking news to find out what's going on. I mean, there's so many different ways. It's a way to get a feel for somebody that you're going to meet with for the first time. You can see what they're tweeting about. What are they interested in? What they're passionate about? Are they somebody who puts it all out there? Are they very reserved? How long ago have they been active on Twitter? All these things are sort of indications, right? But that's different than saying, okay, I need to be a content machine on Twitter, right? I need to be sharing every article on live streaming or every article on entrepreneurship or something like that, when you realize that very few of that is really being read, and a lot of it is being retweeted by friends because they, hey, let me get a solid in with Ross. I'll retweet him, and then he'll retweet something about me or whatever. And so, a lot of people kind of, then take that to the next level with bots and trying to game the system and different follow, unfollow and stuff like that. And I just don't have time for that stuff.
Exactly.
And I don't think there's that much of a reward anyway for it,
Adam Purcell says when he talks to clients and they say, what should we share on Twitter? He says, think differently. Search people, hashtags, and people relevant to you, and talk to them on their turf. After that, you can share whatever you want. To me, it's still a great way to engage others. And I think that's Adam Purcell of Caring Counts. He was a guest on the Divorce Workforce podcast, and thanks for the thoughts, Adam. I think he's correct. I mean, one of the things that when I do use Twitter, I'm just going by hashtag. Like I look at the Let's Livestream hashtag, Rachel Moore's hashtag that she uses. Right. I look at just the live video hashtag. But that's all I really have time for. And I think there's Christie's. I think hers is Chat Snap, or I don't know. I have it in my tweet deck. Chat Snap. And so I look at those 3. I don't really participate in them, but I look at them and I try to retweet them when I can. But time, my friend, it's so much time with everything else.
One thing Adam mentioned that I think is a really good point as well with engagement is, I feel like the barrier to entry to somebody that I'm maybe want to connect with, right, but don't know personally, is the lowest on Twitter. I mean, sending somebody an out of the blue LinkedIn message, unless you have something in common, you went to the same school, whatever, a lot of the same people, you're in the same industry, that's not easy, right? And a lot of people don't like that, whatever. You can't really send a Facebook message to somebody that you're not connect. I mean, you can, but chances are it's going to go in that little folder, and they're going to think, what is this person contacting me on this platform that I use just to share pictures from the beach or whatever, right? Instagram has messages. Half the people probably don't even know that there's messaging capability in Instagram. But you can take that first step by first looking at what somebody's tweeting about, by following them. So now you have a chance to be on their radar. Maybe they even follow you back. You can thank you for following. Look forward to reading your tweets, whatever you want to say. And then you can start a conversation, because Twitter, it's not intrusive. You're not going into somebody's mailbox. Don't send them an auto DM right away,
Right.
telling them to like you on 18 other platforms. But if you can more easily engage with people you don't know just by finding a tweet that you have something to say about and comment back.
I do
and then
agree
you
with
start
you
a
on
conversation. So there is a lot of value in Twitter. Again, I'm just saying that, 24 hours a day sending out, links to articles on your industry may not be the best use of time. If it ever was, it certainly isn't right now, I don't think.
I agree with you. I think it is great for that, and I've noticed that when people reach out to me, I notice it more there than a lot of the other places. So I agree with you. Twitter's just a beast. I mean, it's
right.
it's just a constant love hate. Look at I think it was Joel Comm posted an article yesterday or the day before where and I've seen it before, but maybe they're talking about it more, but Twitter's going to go like big time live video or video in general. I don't know if it's all going to be live or what, but who knows where it'll head. I mean, maybe all of a sudden it'll be really important in ways that we aren't even considering now, which would be
I mean,
cool.
Don't shut down your Twitter account and throw away all the work that you've done. I mean, there are many different ways to leverage it. Look, when the power goes out, right, the first place I go to is Twitter to see what it could be, right? Like hashtag my hometown, search that, okay, this is what happened. Something broke here. They're fixing it. There's just so many different uses for Twitter. And, I know Joel strongly believes that live video is what's going to save Twitter or take it to the next level, and that Twitter is going to become really a live media platform. And, I think in the predictions that he did for this year, I think he said, the stock price was going to drop, and then a media organization was going to buy it and use it for live video primarily. But by the way, congratulations on you made Joel's top 50 social media influencer list. That's phenomenal. There's some real heavy hitters in there, and I'm glad to see you getting the recognition you really richly deserve.
It was an honor. I don't know how I fit into that list, but it was definitely absolutely. I mean, it was awesome that he thought of me and included me, but I don't feel like I've really made a big dent in it all yet, and so I'm very humbled. But it lets me know that there's just great things to come, and sometimes you can sell yourself short, and other people see you, and you don't know how other people see you.
Right.
You just don't. And see what you're doing. But going back to what you said about his prediction on Twitter, he said when it hits $10, somebody big is going to come in and snap it up, and $10 a share. So Twitter. Well, listen, Ross, tell the people where they can find you. I figure we've been going for an hour 10, so we probably should wrap it up. And I'm going to want to have you on. I'd love to have you on again in the near future if you've got time for it. But in the meantime, tell people where they can find you and find what you're up to.
Sure, I'm always happy to come back. And I saw this coming for you from the first time we talked. I knew you were going to make a real big impact, based on how professional and how dedicated you were to doing things right. And also you have to have the talent to back it up, which you have. I am at livestreamuniverse.com. You can find me on Twitter at Ross Brand, and livestreamuniverse.com. If you're looking for resources for live streaming, livestreamuniverse.com/resources. Great place to check that out. But you can find on livestreamuniverse.com past shows. You can see what's coming up and what we've been doing. And, follow us on Instagram as well at iRossBrand, at Livestream Uni on Instagram and Twitter as well.
Folks, and I can echo that. Ross is great. Check out his stuff. He's one of the first people that I came across when I started getting into live video, and he's become a good friend. We met at Summit Live in 2017 in Los Angeles, and we hang out a lot online and chit-chat and help test each other's equipment and all that. Folks, if you're listening to the podcast, prepare for more. In fact, by the time you have an opportunity to listen to this, so I'll probably have 10 or so episodes up once I have the podcast go live, so that's kind of a moot point. But I expect that I'll have a new show about every twice a week. For those who are interested in the live video of this show, you can check us out at Facebook Live. That's the best place to watch the show because you can interact with us. Even though I can monitor several platforms, I prefer Facebook Live, and you can go to my site, www.Todd.LIVE/Facebook Live. It'll take you straight to my Facebook page. You can follow the page there and leave a comment. Let me know that you're there, and we'll start a relationship, start talking, and see what you're interested in. And if you've got any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. In the meantime, folks, continue creating great content and stay productive. All right, I've actually stopped the podcast, but we are still live on everything. I don't know if anybody has.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody has any questions. Or Jacqueline said, "Great show." Thanks, Jacqueline. That means a lot. I've been doing live video for some time, but not as much as I should. In fact, I've really missed an opportunity. I've been working on this live video studio for. To where I'm at, everything I've done and all the tweaks and software and everything. I mean, it's like a year and a half in the works, and I could have shared that journey and all the pain behind it with the crowd, and I failed to do that. I just broadcasted a lot less and just focused on building what I wanted to build. But Ross actually was somebody I think I reached. Ross, I think I reached out to you. Gosh, I don't even remember what it was, but I think I had a question about something live video, and you seemed like the appropriate person to ask, and you answered my question, and it just kind of went from there. Look, Coach Jenny just showed up. Coach Jenny has a book called Hilda, folks. If you are battling your inner naysayer, whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur or somebody getting started, or not even if you're not even an entrepreneur and just in life, you let your inner naysayer screw up your day and bring you down. Coach Jenny's book and Coach Jenny herself can help you big time. Ross, what do you think of Coach Jenny's book? Have you read it?
I've read some of it. The problem with Coach Jenny's book, and I keep it I actually have it next to my bed, is after I read a page of it, literally like a page or 2 pages, I go, okay, get your ass in gear and get something done. So I keep putting it down. I think I'll finish it, maybe in a year or 2. But that's okay because it's working for me. And anytime I feel like I'm struggling or, oh God, woe is me, I can't do this, I just pick up the book and continue reading where I am. And it's like, okay, get back to work.
I've got it right here. I've read, let's see, I haven't finished it. I've probably read about half of it, but everything about this book is top quality. I mean, I've written a book and published a book, and the look and feel, I mean, just when you get the book in your hand, and it's very well written, and it's obvious that Jenny has put a lot of time and effort into this, and she's passionate about it. And folks, I met Jenny at Summit Live, and she gave me this book. Ross and I went to dinner with Jenny one night after Summit Live, and she gave me this book, and I don't know why it escaped me to say, hey, can you sign it? I didn't have it signed. So at some point I'll see Jenny again, and I will take, when I know I'm going to see her, I will have the book handy, and I will get a signature then, but it's good stuff. I wanted to address some other people and thank them for participating. Chris Strubb jumped in. Jonathan has been here, I think, the whole time. I don't know if he's still with us. Stephen Healy shared. In fact, it tells me that Stephen and some other, actually Chris Strubb shared the video. So it says Chris Strubb and 6 others. So I can't do a shout out to all 6. I know Stephen Healy shared, and thank you, Stephen, if you're still with us. Linda Sunshine West provided feedback. Todd Russenholt. Some of these people I don't know yet. Hopefully these are going to be people that I'm friends with here in the future. Jacqueline Price. Let's see. Coach Jenny showed up. Oh, and Jenny, I think caught the tail end. But I'm so happy that you joined us. I have to say, for a first show to have Ross Brand on my show is just means the world to me. I mean, I just knew when I started this that I would want to have Ross come on. And then the other thing I wanted, all of you guys that I just did a shout out to, and the fact that so many of you were with me a lot of the time during this broadcast, I had 10 or more people watching, which is shocking to me that the first time I've really done one of these broadcasts, I had 10 or more for a good portion of the show. So thank you everybody for making that a huge success. That makes me feel really good about, there were no screw ups today, no equipment failures. I thought for sure that would happen.
337 views last time I refreshed is pretty darn awesome for a first show, Todd. That is amazing. And it shows the following that you're starting to build. I wanted to say about both you and Coach Jenny, because I feel like the best people who are live streamers, when you meet them and hang out with them in person, they're what they are on camera, right? They're what they are. Their personality isn't like something fake that they put on when they go on live streaming. Yeah, you may amp up the energy a little bit more. You may promote a little bit more. You have certain things you got to do as part of a broadcast. But the essence of who people are, good people are good people, whether they're on live video and in person. And, when you mentioned Coach Jenny's book, she's managed in her writing voice to be there in the book. You know what I mean? Like she's who she is, not only on live stream, not only in real life, not only when she does speaking gigs, because I've seen her speak in person as well, but as an author, her brand is the same, her voice is the same. It's really an amazing thing to see.
Absolutely. Well, and I say the same thing about you, Ross. I see you on your shows and we've communicated. Well, we got started going back and forth through Skype and through
right.
Facebook Messenger, and then we got to hang out at Summit Live a bunch. Hopefully VidCon will be the next thing. I gotta work on you on that. I gotta get you out here. I gotta turn the screws in however way I think I can do it to get you out here. But there'll be even if you don't make that one, there'll be other shows. I'm not really worried
right.
about it. But and Coach Jenny, you should leave a comment down below if you're going to be at VidCon. If you are, I don't know it yet. I hope you are. I know that Mike Vardy is going to be there. Roberto Blake. Owen Video is going to be there. I know I'm leaving some people out. It's a huge show, so I can't name everybody, but it'll be a good show. But authenticity and being there, helping people out. If you have any questions about what I've done with my studio and you want to try to put something together, or you're working on something and you've got a hardship, let me know. I've with my studio and doing this quadcast and everything, I pretty much self-taught. I had Ross to ask a few questions. Stephen Haywood, I asked a few questions, but other than that, for the most part, I figured this out from scratch, and it's been a labor of love. But I consider this first episode a great success, and thank you all for being here with us. And Ross, anything else you want to add to the show before we close out?
Just thanks so much for having me on the first show. It's an honor, and just really enjoyed following the chat and everybody's comments, and just an amazing community. I'm really psyched for what you're doing and what you're building, and let's continue the conversation both online and offline.
I agree. It's been fun. Folks, thank you for joining again. I'm going to start shutting them down. Ross, if you want to stick around, and we'll chat
Sure.
once we get off air. But thanks so much for being here with us, and I look forward to next time. Like I said when I was closing out the podcast portion of the show, ideally, I'm going to be doing this twice a week, Tuesday, Thursday, something like that. That might be a little ambitious, but I don't see why it couldn't be done. So, and probably have a lot of recurring guests because I think that what we talk about is relevant, and that's what people are wanting to hear about. So With that, I'm going to close it out. Ross, thanks again. Stick around and as I close this out, and we'll thanks, folks, for joining us. Let's see here. Where should I shut it off first? I guess on Joycaster. Yep, there we go. So we are
that'll kill most everything, right?